In this module, you will study about static electricity. Learning objectives. Properties of charge. Production and detection of electrostatic charges. State that charging a body involves the addition or removal of electrons. Distinguish between electric conductors and insulators and give typical examples. State that the direction of an electric field at a point is the direction of the force on a positive charge at that point. Describe simple field patterns. Now, let us study the difference between charged materials and uncharged materials. Atoms and ions. Atoms are neutral. They contain the same number of protons as electrons. By definition, an ion is an electrically charged particle produced by either removing electrons from a neutral atom to give a positive ion or adding electrons to a neutral atom to give a negative ion. Here is a neutral atom. If we remove electrons from the outermost orbit of neutral atom, the atom will get a positive charge. It will become a positively charged ion or cation. If we add electrons to the outermost orbit of neutral atom, the atom will get a negative charge, or it will become a negatively charged ion. It is called anion. Interaction between charges. One important property of charged particle is the force of attraction or repulsion between charges. Opposite charges attract and similar charges repel. Charging by friction. We can use different methods to charge an insulator or charge a metal. Here you can see how to charge an insulator. An uncharged plastic rod is here and an uncharged cloth also. Now if you rub this plastic rod with the cloth, some of the electrons present in the outermost orbit of plastic rod will go to the cloth. That means the plastic rod is losing electrons and cloth gaining electron. The plastic rod will become positive charge and the cloth will get negative charge. Charging by conduction. Charging by conduction involves the contact of a charged object to a neutral object. This method is used to charge metals. Charging by friction is not possible in the case of metals because metals are good conductors of electricity. Even if you give some charge to the metal by friction, it will neutralize within no time. So here we have a charged material which is positively charged. There is deficiency of electrons in some of the atoms. And we can see another uncharged material. There are equal number of protons and electrons. To charge a metal by conduction, we have to bring this charged material in contact with the neutral material. Then some of the electrons from the neutral material will go to the positively charged material, and as a result the uncharged material will get some charge. Charging by induction. The induction charging is a charging method in which there is no direct contact between the charged object and the neutral object. The charging by induction process is where the charged object is held near an uncharged conductive material. After charge separation, opposite side is grounded for some time. After removing grounding, the object used to charge the system is removed. Here you can see charging a neutral metallic sphere using a highly positively charged metal rod. The neutral metallic sphere is placed above an insulator. In the absence of the positively charged metal rod, the positive charge and negative charge is uniformly distributed. That means atoms contains equal number of protons and electrons and there is no net charge for the sphere. But if we bring the highly positively charged metal rod near to the neutral sphere, a charge separation will happen. Some of the electrons from the atoms will go towards the positively charged metal rod, but not transferring. Now we have to connect the opposite side of the metal sphere to the ground. Earth is an electron bank, so electrons will come from the ground to the metallic sphere and neutralize it. Now, by keeping the positively charged metal rod, we have to remove the grounding. Now, after that, we can remove the highly positively charged metal rod. Then the metallic sphere will get some negative charge. When we do charging by conduction, the metal that is used to give charge and the neutral material will get the same type of charge. That means positively charged metal rod can be used to give positive charge to the metallic sphere by conduction. But in charging by induction, if we use positively charged metal rod, then the sphere will get negative charge. And if we use negatively charged metal rod, the sphere will get positive charge. Detection of charge using gold leaf electroscope. The electroscope is an instrument used to detect the presence of electric charge on a body. A gold leaf electroscope consists of a metal cap on a metal rod, at the foot of which is a metal plate with a leaf of gold foil attached. Now we can use any thin metal as the leaf, but if we use gold, it will last long. The rod is held by an insulating plastic plug in a case with a glass side to protect the leaf from air disturbance. Now, if you want to check the charge of a material, we have to bring that charged material and touch the metal cap. The charge will move from the metal cap through the metal rod to the gold leaf. The gold leaf is suspending, but it is connected to the metal rod. So when this gold leaf gets charged, the tip of this gold leaf will move away from each other, because similar charges will repel each other. By looking the widening of that gold leaf, we will get some estimation about the amount of charge present there. Conductors and insulators. Materials can be classified into conductors and insulators. Conductors allow electricity to flow through them, and insulators will block electrons. Here are some examples for conductors. Metals like silver, copper, aluminum, iron, they are all conductors of electricity. But wood, paper, cork, plastic, air, they are all bad conductors of electricity, or they are called insulators. Conductors and insulators. Some materials let electricity pass through them easily. These materials are known as electrical conductors. Some materials do not allow electricity to pass through them. These materials are known as electrical insulators. Metals are good conductors of electricity, and non-metals are bad conductors of electricity. Now, if you look at the periodic table, you can see the first group elements, lithium, sodium, potassium. So these first group elements contain first electrons in its outermost orbit. No need to consider hydrogen. Hydrogen contains 2 electrons in its outermost orbit. Now the second group elements contain 2 electrons in its outermost orbit. Now if you come to the right side of the periodic table, helium, neon, argon, this inert gas, they contain 8 electrons in its outermost orbit. But fluorine, chlorine, bromine contain 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. Atom always have a tendency to get 8 electrons in its outermost orbit. If there are 8 electrons in the outermost orbit, the atom will become more stable. So this is the natural tendency of atom. Now, atoms will get 8 electrons in its outermost orbit by removing some electrons from the last orbit or the outermost orbit. Then the next orbit will contain 8 electrons. Or the atoms can attract electrons from the neighboring atoms. Then it will get 8 electrons. For example, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, they will get 8 electrons if it get 1 electron. But lithium, sodium, potassium, if it remove 1 electron, the next orbit will get 8 electrons. So in another way, we can say, in the case of metals, the outermost electrons are loosely bounded to the nucleus. So we can easily remove the electrons from the outermost orbit of first group or second group, or we can say from the metals. But we have to supply a large amount of energy to remove electrons from the outermost orbit of insulators. So in metals, if we apply a potential difference between the two ends of a metal, then electrons will freely move through the metal. This is the reason for conductivity of metals. Here you can see one example, sodium metal and chlorine non-metal. Chlorine is a gas. Now let us see the sodium atom. Sodium atom is neutral. Sodium atom contains 11 protons in the nucleus and 11 electrons in the orbit. The outermost orbit contains 1 electron. First orbit contains 2 electrons, second orbit contains 8 electrons, and the final orbit contains 1 electron. So if sodium remove 1 electron from the outermost orbit, then the next orbit will get 8 electrons. Now coming to chlorine, atomic number of chlorine is 17. First orbit contains 2 electrons, second orbit contains 8 electrons, and the last orbit contains 7 electrons. So to get 8 electrons into the outermost orbit, the chlorine will try to get 1 more electron. So it is very easy to remove electron from the sodium atom because it is not well connected to the nucleus. It has a tendency to remove the electron. Unit of charge. Unit of charge is Coulomb. We know if electrons are removing from atoms, atoms will get positive charge, and if electrons are giving to an atom, atoms will get negative charge. If 1 electron is removing from an atom, atom will get 1 positive charge, or we can say the material is getting 1 positive charge. If 2 electrons are removing from an atom, the material will get 2 positive charge. Similarly, if you give 1 excess electron to an atom, that material will get 1 negative charge, and if 2 electrons are giving to the atom, the material will get 2 negative charge. So positive charge is the deficiency of electron and negative charge is the presence of excess electron. So we can say how many electrons are removed or how many electrons are given. So it is a multiplication of a unit charge called the charge of electron. We know that the charge of 1 electron is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. So when a charge is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb, the number of electron is 1. When charge is 1 coulomb, the number of electron is 1 divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. So that is equal to 6.25 into 10 raised to 18 electrons. So the charge of 6.25 into 10 raised to 18 electrons is called 1 coulomb. This 1 coulomb is taken as the unit of charge of the material. Electric field. When an electric charge is placed near to another electric charge, it experiences a force. The electric force does not require contact between the two charges, so we call it as action at a distance force. It acts through space. The region of space where an electric charge experiences a force due to other charge is called an electric field. The electric field intensity or strength of the electric field at a point is a force experienced on a unit positive charge placed at that point. The force experienced by a charge in an electric field is given by F equal to Q times E, where Q is the charge and E is the electric field intensity. Electric field lines. Similar to magnetic field lines, we can draw electric field lines. They are imaginary lines around a charged material. The direction or the arrow shows the direction of motion of a unit positive charge placed near to the charged material. Electric field lines always point away from positive charge. they always point towards negative charge. Electric field lines are close together where the force is strong. Electric field lines are far apart when the force is weak. Electric field lines never cross or tangle. Electric field lines diverge from a positively charged material and converge to a negatively charged material because it shows the direction of movement of positive charge. A unit positive charge is repelled by the positively charged material, but a unit positive charge is attracted by the negatively charged material. Here you can see electric field lines produced by more than one charge. So the first picture you can see two positively charged materials. The electric field lines are starting from the positively charged and diverging. Now in the second picture, top right side, right corner, you can see one positively charged material and one negatively charged material. Electric field lines originating from positively charged material and going towards the negatively charged material. Now in the third picture, the bottom, you can see two negatively charged material. So electric lines of force are coming to it. Now between that two negatively charged material, at the center there will be no electric lines of force, and similarly between two positively charged material, no field lines at the center. This is similar to the null point or neutral point in magnetic field lines. The electric field lines produced by a conducting sphere is similar to the electric field lines produced by a point charge. Electric field between parallel plates. Sometimes we have to create uniform electric field. To produce uniform electric field, we use parallel plates. You can see two parallel plates, the cross section of two parallel plates we can see here with more area, surface area for the plates. Now the upper plate is positively charged and the lower plate is negatively charged. Now assume that we place one unit positive charge between these two plates. If the unit positive charge is near to the upper plate, there will be repulsion from the upper plate and attraction from the lower plate. There will be more repulsion from the upper plate and less attraction from the negatively charged plate. But if you place that unit positive charge in the middle, then repulsion from the upper plate will be equal to attraction from the lower plate. Now if you move that unit positive charge near to the negatively charged plate, then there will be more attraction from the negatively charged plate and less repulsion from the positively charged plate. Or in another way, if we can say, if you take the repulsion from the positive charge and attraction from the negative charge, and if you take the sum of that forces, this net force will be equal at any point between these two parallel plates. You know, the force acting on a charge Q in an electric field is given by force F is equal to Q into E. And this force acting on unit positive charge will be same anywhere between the two plates. Or we can say the strength of the electric field between these two plates is uniform. But there is a difference at the extreme edge of these parallel plates. Near the edge there will be slight bending for the electric lines of force. But in the middle it will be parallel, or they are uniform. Lightning. Let's try to explain how lightning is happening. We can use lightning conductor or lightning arrestor to prevent lightning. A tall building is protected by lightning conductor consisting of a thick copper strip fixed on the outside of the building, connecting metal spikes at the top to a metal plate in the ground. We don't know the exact mechanism of lightning, but one thing is clear, it is happening due to static electricity. Clouds are known to contain countless millions of suspended water droplets and ice particles moving and whirling about in turbulent fashion. Additional water from the ground evaporates, rises upward and forms clusters of droplets as it approaches a cloud. This upwardly rising moisture collide with water droplets within the clouds. In the collisions, electrons are ripped off the rising droplets, causing a separation of negative electrons from a positively charged water droplet or a cluster of droplets. Usually the lower part of the cloud is becoming negative charge and the upper part is becoming positive charge. If two electrically charged clouds come very near to each other, and if there is a difference in potential, then electricity can pass from one cloud to another cloud. But this type of lightning is not harmful for human beings. But sometimes these charged clouds can come near to the ground, or it can pass above tall buildings. Then a discharge of electricity can take place between the clouds and the ground. As we know, Earth is an electron bank. It can give electron or it can take electrons. Thunder clouds carry charges. A negatively charged cloud passing overhead repels electrons from the spikes to the earth. The points of the spikes are left with a large positive charge, which removes electrons from nearby air molecules, so charging them positively and causing them to be repelled from the spike. This effect results in an electric wind of positive air molecules streaming upward, which can neutralize electrons discharging from the thundercloud in a lightning flash. If a flash occurs, it is now less violent and the conductor gives it an easy path to ground. Usually, atmospheric air is a bad conductor of electricity, but at an extremely high potential, some of the electrons from the outermost orbit of gas atoms or molecules will separate and it will conduct electricity. Thank you. If you like this video, you can subscribe and share. And if you have any doubt or suggestion, you can type in the comment section.